Coming to you from the Big Island of Hawaii, it's the Songs and Stories Podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Aloha, Steve Roby here from Big Island Music Magazine. And my guest today is award-winning singer and songwriter and Mauna Kea protector, Hāwane Rios. Aloha, Hāwane.
Aloha, Velina mai me ke aloha nui a kākoa paulua. Thank you for having me.
And mahalo for being on the podcast today.
Mahalo.
So we're here to talk about your performance at the upcoming Hawaii Performing Arts Festival season opener at the Fairmont Orchid on Thursday, June 30th at 7 p.m. But before we get into that, let's start out with an overview of your music career and efforts to protect Mauna Kea.
Mahalo nui. And aloha kākou. If you do not know who I am, o wau o Hāwane Rios, o mauna awa ke aku mauna o ko hako hau ku ka Hawaii a pu ka puai mea no hoi ku aina kuleimi aloha no kākoa paulua. Aloha, my name is Hāwane Rios. My mountain is Mauna Kea. My river is ko hako hau, and the land that raised me is pu ka puai mea on the island of Hawaii. I am raised by my mother and my parents and grandparents to be close to the land and to care for the land and to walk in a good way in this lifetime. And all of that foundational work that is tied to our culture, our traditions, our stories, our dances, and our songs, that is what keeps me rooted to Hawaii nui Akea, to this land that I am lineally connected to. And because of that connection, it carries throughout everything that I do in my life. And my passion is music. I love to sing. I love to dance. I love to write. And it's a part of our velo ohana, the legacy of our family. My mother is a composer. She is a kumuhula. And so for me, this is also a kuleana, a responsibility. Music is telling stories and passing down stories. And I want to dedicate my life and my time here telling the stories of who we are as a living culture, as a living people. We're not people of the past. We are still here. And because of that, we have a lot of kuleana to the land and to our own communities after so much has happened to Hawaii. And so that is where my music comes from. It comes from a place of knowing that we need to take care of our next 7 generations by telling them how we are still here, how we still lived, how we still protected our land. And the medium of expression that I choose is songwriting. And so that translates into my activism work, my advocacy work for Mauna Kea. Because we can't tell the story without sharing the reality of what it's like to be a Hawaiian in Hawaii at this present time. And my mom always says there is an issue for every single second of the day in Hawaii. And the biggest one right now for Hawaii Island is Mauna Kea. Mm-hmm. And the proposed building of the 38-meter telescope on our most sacred summit. And so that is what I have dedicated the last 12 years of my life to, and my music translates into that.
And thank you for doing that. Just a quick note, why is it important to pass this information on to the next 7 generations?
We always count it by 7, and that's an indigenous knowledge that is not just in Hawaii. We see that throughout the world. And that is because for me, I can count 7 generations back from my kupuna. And so what they did 7 generations back impacts me now. What I do now impacts 7 generations. And then what they do impacts the next 7 generations. Everything that we do here on this planet will have an effect on people that we don't even know yet. And so if you live in Hawaii, whether you are Hawaiian or not, if you drink of the water of this land and you eat of the food of this land, you have a responsibility to the people that will be here when we're gone, to the land that will be here when we are gone. And for so long, this society hasn't centered that. It actually stole that kuana ike, that knowledge of care, And now we're returning to it because we have to. The land, this whole world is calling for us to care about not just capitalism and making money and being successful, and to not just care about ourselves, but to care about what community means. What does it mean to have clean water for the next 7 generations? And do we care? You know, Uncle Skippy always says, now that you know, do you care? And really ask yourself that. And if you care, what are you going to do about it? And so every single person living on this planet needs to care, because we all will have descendants, you know, whether it is a niece, a nephew, a child, you know, that we bring into this world. We have the responsibility to make way for them in a good way. And the way the world is going right now, it's not so good when we look around, when we look at the news every day. And what are we going to do to change it? And so that's also something that our advocacy work does. You know, it invites people to look at themselves and to look at how they move in the world, what they were taught, and how to change how we literally live our lives, how we treat each other. Because if we are not treating each other like we treat the land, and how do we even treat the land? You know, is it a connection that is deep? Is it a connection that is nourishing? Or do we feel disconnected? And if there's disconnect there, then why? And what are the intergenerational traumas that have happened for that to happen now? And what can we do to heal that so that we can create a foundation for our children that is strong and in a full awareness of what their responsibilities are? That's why this work is so layered and so important.
Thank you for saying that. That's very important. And it's sort of the theme of next week's season opener for the Hawaii Performing Arts Festival, with the focus being on Hawaii's culture. Can you talk a little bit about what the audience can look forward to, and who are some of the people on the bill next week?
I'm very happy, you know, to be a part of this festival because I am an HPAF alumni. I was a part of the Tropic Glee when they came over here back in 2013. And so I got to sing in the showcase, and I got to meet a lot of amazing and really talented people. And so it's really nice to be able to come back now, especially now that I'm a more established artist. HPAF is very grounding for me, you know, my foundation in music, because it helped me to see that there are other genres, you know, that I could sing in, and other mediums of expression in music that I never really opened up to because I didn't have the opportunity. And so I'm really looking forward to this event where I will be playing, and I will be accompanied by Brandon Nakano on guitar and Emma Nakano, Koloma Nakano on bass. They're dear friends of mine who I've been playing with for over 10 years now. And we will be showcasing some of my new music that I wrote during the pandemic. I am going to be coming out with a Hawaiian language album in the next year. And so that's all of the music that I wrote in the past 3 years of the pandemic. And then we will also be hearing from Blayne Asing, Kaulu Amaral, which is also my auntie. And she is one of the most beautiful dancers I have ever seen and I've ever known. One of the most beautiful people I know. And she will be dancing for Pomai Brown and Friends. And then more people that I am very, very pili to and that I have so much aloha for. Hālau Ka'eaikahelelani, Yuki Ka'ea, and Kahelelani, kumu hula, of this amazing halau and kona that don't just practice hula, but they practice aloha aina. You know, they put their stories and their dances into function and action. And I really appreciate that about this halau. You with an exclamation point that I actually don't know who that is, but I'm very excited to hear from. And then, of course, the entire HPAF Ohana will be showcasing their mele. And so this is going to be an amazing event, and I'm really looking forward.
It really sounds like a full event. I imagine it'll probably go for about 2 hours.
Yes.
So your current album is Together We Rise. You mentioned that you're working on some new material there. Can you talk about that?
Together We Rise came out in 2019, and into 2020, we were on the front lines for the Mauna Kea movement. So I did not really have much of an opportunity to tour this album, but it's an album that I'm very proud of. I recorded it in Germany with Matthias Scheffler, who is just an incredible producer and engineer. And I met him actually on the Mauna, and he offered his studio space to me for free in Germany to record this music because he believes in it, And so this music is all of my my love letters of aloha aina, not just to the Mauna. The Mauna is the central point of this whole album, but this album also highlights many issues that we are facing in Hawaii: food sovereignty, justice for women and children, more protection for us, calling for demilitarization of our island, Hawaii, and of Makua Valley, and every single place that is occupied by the U.S. military, because right now it's causing detrimental damage to our island, and they are bombing right over our aquifer in Pohakuloa. And so these are things that people normally, we've been trained to not talk about it in the society, to just kind of push these things aside. But people have been standing up and showing up and speaking up for the injustices that have happened here since time immemorial. And so for me, this CD is all about being brave and using our voice and doing something with our time that is meaningful for me, because I come from a family of aloha aina. My mother and my father, Kalani Flores, they are incredible aloha aina, people who stand for the land and stand for the justice and rights for everything. It's an ode, to the mo'oku au, the genealogy of people who have continued on this work and who teach us how, in this time, how to stand up for what we know is right for our people and for our land. And so I will be sharing some of the music from that album. And then I'm also going to be showcasing music that I wrote in the pandemic about my own ohana, stories from my grandpa, from my mother, stories about the places that I love. And I actually started writing music in Hawaiian and playing music in Hawaiian. I didn't really write in English in Hawaiian like the CD Together We Rise is written in. And that CD also, I'm so honored, because that CD won Contemporary Album of the Year in the 2020 Nahoku Hano Hano O. It's very humbling to know that, this music is accepted and heard by our musical community in Hawaii. So I'm looking forward to sharing from both parts of my my writing expression.
Nice. When can we look forward to the new material coming out?
So I don't have a date yet.
Okay.
I actually am just beginning recording. I will be recording with Sean Pimentel who is an incredible producer.
Yes, he is.
And incredible aloha aina. He is another one that was on the front lines of Mauna Kea with his koko'olua, who is a dear friend of mine, Pono. And so I love that, I will be making this album with friends. And I'm very, very happy that it's going to be coming out, hopefully, in this next coming year. I don't want to take too long to record it.
Yeah.
But everybody out there, if you've ever recorded an album, it's quite the process. And it's a beautiful one, but it's also a lot of hard work.
Congratulations on the new project. We're all looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
What does the rest of the year look like for you? Have you got any other projects lined up?
So I am actually gearing up to, I've been writing a lot of grants and a lot of fellowships because my work for Mauna Kea also really aligns with my work for women, creating safe spaces for women and for our young ones, for queer people. And so I have been teaching a chant class for the past 2 years. And it's by invitation only because I'm just curating what this looks like now, what it means to chant and use the tool of chant and the art of chant as a healer and as a medicine. And you'll hear a lot of chant throughout my album and also throughout this set. If you're coming, chant is the foundation of my work and of my music as well and my writing. And so now I'm delving into what does the healing part look like? You know, we have the standing for the justice part down, and that's what we do. But I don't want to have to do that for the rest of my life. I want justice to be and dignity to be restored to our land and people so that we can actually heal. And so this next part of my year is music, healing through oli, and healing through the ho'i ho'ina, the return, you know, of what resonates with us from our ancestors, the past, how they lived. Because a lot of the time people speak of our belief systems and of us as Hawaiians in a past tense. And so my work now is to speak of us in the present tense, and that our belief systems, our connection to Hawaii matters and it's still living. And so that is my work for the coming year. And I'm really looking forward and very excited for what is to come and how we can create more connection and community because of it.
All right, that sounds good. Where's the best place online for folks that are interested in your projects, either musical or having to do with Mauna Kea and the other projects that you mentioned? Is there a website or social media they should go to find out more?
All of my music is on all of the social media platforms and all of the musical platforms. And so iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, all of those platforms you can find my music. And also I have a single out from last year, Nopu Kamana'o, that I did with Saddle Road Productions. And so that is all out on all of the musical platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Hāwane Music, also on TikTok and Facebook. As for information for Mauna Kea, you can follow at Protect Mauna Kea on Instagram. You can visit pu'uhuluhulu.com. You can also visit the Mauna Kea Education and Awareness website and Instagram, kahea.org. And in all of these places as well, you can donate, you can show your support by signing the petition, and stay, you know, active and aware by wearing your Mauna Kea shawls, Mauna Kea shirts and hats. We have a Mauna Kea Wear Wednesday, every Wednesday, where we will wear, you know, something aloha aina and walk through our community so that, you know, people still are thinking about it. Because, you know, just because we're not on the front line doesn't mean that the work hasn't continued to protect Mauna Kea. And so please spread the message, you know, on your social media, share it to your stories, hashtag Protect Mauna Kea, support the people, you know, that are doing the work on the next front line. I hope to see all of you here.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
You can catch Hāwane Rios, Blayne Asing, Pomai Brown, and much, much more at the season opener for the Hawaii Performing Arts Festival on Thursday, June 30th at 7 p.m. Tickets are available at hawaiiperformingartsfestival.org. Hāwane, thank you so much for your time today. Mahalo.
Yes, mahalo nui, and thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Songs and Stories podcast. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. We'll see you next week on Songs and Stories. Aloha.